Hey there, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to our town hall meeting. We are ecstatic to have you all here with us. I hope you can hear me. Now you can see me. I think we're in good shape. So we're thrilled to have you with us today. We got a great hour planned for you. We always start with all of our legality stuff and updates and different things like that. And then after that, we've got a great guest, Dana, which I'll introduce her a little bit later in the meeting. And think you're going to really enjoy her and learn a lot from her today regarding opportunity with us and within the company and everything else. So we got a great morning plan for you. Great hour. So we're going to go ahead, Andrew, if you want to flip over there to our discussion points in our world of broker stuff. We want to get that stuff out of the way sooner than later. First thing I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about is commercial, and the reason I'm bringing this forward is because um, commercial is not residential. And you might be like, well, yeah, of course commercial is not residential. I get that and I understand that. Yet, from the same token, uh, I think that some of the agents under when you get your real estate license, it allows you to sell anything in the state of Florida. I mean, obviously, you have to be in the board where that property is if you want to get paid, unless you make other arrangements. But from a legality standpoint, you're able to sell any piece of real estate. What I want you to think about regarding commercial though is like you go to a doctor and that's a general practitioner, and the general practitioner refers you to specialists based on what might be wrong with you. So in other words, a oncologist who deals with cancer isn't necessarily the best. Did you all lose me? For some reason, I got muted for a second, I guess. So there's different specialties in medicine from the standpoint of oncology, gynecology, dermatology, all that type of thing. Well, real estate's the same way, right? Residential versus commercial. Commercial has industrial, has environmental protection element, has retail, has strip shops, has malls, has land, has all kinds of different things. So um, if you've never done commercial in a transaction, we ask that you are involving a commercial agent in the transaction. Now, we're not saying it has to, what the split has to be. That's negotiated and it depends on a couple things. I'll usually ask questions like, what is it? What does it involve? What type of commercial transaction is it? And then depending on the depth of the commercial deal, will depend on like, okay, this is tricky. It's a mall with retail that's got a lot 70 leases underneath of it. It's got all kinds of net issues with it. There's all kinds of P&Ls that have to be done. And if you've never touched that before, my guess is you would involve a commercial agent at a higher level. If it's an easy strip shop that doesn't involve much commercial analysis to it, well, maybe it's just them looking over the paperwork and it's a minimal cost. So we're working on a more formalized program for this, but I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page because sometimes it turns into a situation that can get a little dicey when we have got an agent that isn't trained how to do a commercial deal at all, but they want to sell commercial real estate. So I'm happy to have individual conversations with you regarding that at some point if you'd like, but just make sure that we understand we're on the same page with that. Next thing is post occupancy and pre occupancy. This has come up quite a bit in the last few months with the market that we're in today. And the reason I'm bringing this up again is because when a seller uses the ability to post occupy the property as a bargaining chip, as a negotiation tool in the transaction, um, when anytime there's a time where there's post occupancy involved, there is supposed to be a lease, and the lease is not the FAR lease that you just find in Dotloop or DocuSign. It's an attorney written lease that gets attached to the contract. If you look at letter U, which is the comprehensive addendum for post occupancy, it specifically says in the addendum attorney written, cost, who's paying for it, who's initiating, and all that type of thing. Um, well, let me explain to you why we have this or why the state has it. Because if I sell my home and then I'm going to post occupy it for, say, a month, and the buyer's giving me a month to find another property or whatever about that looks like, and then I'm packing boxes and I fall off a ladder and I break my neck and I'm paralyzed for the rest of my life, I'm probably going to sue somebody. And if I go to the lawyer is going to say, sue everybody. Just one second. Which would include the real estate agent, the company, everybody. So if we have a lease that at least talks about who's responsible for insurance for what, as Lori Heim, our attorney consultant, says, it provides a layer of protection for the agent and the company. That's why we don't just slap an FAR lease on and wish for help, pray for it to go through. Now, with that being said, if we have a situation where the client pushes back and is like, I'm not paying no attorney, I don't need no attorney, like that kind of thing, well, then we do have a hold harmless that we've asked the attorneys to write that gets put into the transaction and should get signed. We don't just get that sign and plop it into the deal, because what happens is if there is a lawsuit after the fact, they're going to question what dialogue, conversation, and communication took place during the transaction. And we need to show that we did have this conversation with them. So that's why anytime a contract's turned in and involves post-occupancy, you're seeing transaction protection turn it back if there's not an attorney written lease with the transaction itself. So if you have questions, I'm happy to have individual conversations with you. The broker liaisons are all educated on this, as well as the transaction protection department is set up for that too. But I just wanted you to understand it isn't just a whim that we're doing that. We're trying to make sure that you're protected all the way through. So that's the story with that. Next, we've had a couple situations regarding surveillance cameras in listings at properties, right? So when I say surveillance cameras, we're talking about Ring devices that are put up that record people walking in. We're talking about videos that are in the home. We're talking about even audio recording devices in the home. It's law that if a person's going to be recorded in any way, whether it's audio, visual, both, whatever it is, that there must be something put up in the house, even at the front door, that says you are being recorded in this house. We had a situation in one of the market centers yesterday where the person that was recorded wanted the agent arrested and they wanted their license taken. They've already gone to the Better Business Bureau and they've gone to Florida Real Estate Commission on them. So even though it wasn't the agent, it was the seller, they're blaming our agent. Now, side note, they tried to buy the property and they went up against multiple offers and didn't get it. So they're very upset and they're taking it all out on that. Now, that being said, I just want to make sure that we're on the same page from the standpoint that if a seller is going to have that, and this goes for anything, Alexa, Shmalexa, whoever it is in their recording, they need to make sure that there's something up that says it. I also put it on the Realtor Remarks as well in the MLS. So just making sure we're on the same page with that. So those are kind of like the high broker topics that I wanted to make sure that we're all aware of, at least for this point in time. So I'm going to turn it over to Andrew. He's got a couple tech updates for you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Before Andrew, Dot Loop. Some of you have been asking about Dot Loop versus DocuSign. If you joined the company in the last year, all you know is DocuSign. Nothing's changing with that. You're good to go. Those of you that have been on the Dot Loop platform for any way, shape, or time, we're keeping the Dot Loop platform for you in place even beyond June 1st. So it's not going anywhere. It's not going away. You're good to go with it. You're fine to use it as your e-signature platform. Remember, Zillow owns Dot Loop. So anything that you put into the Dot Loop databases, Zillow has it, and Zillow is now a brokerage. So Gary Keller always reminds us on a monthly basis that the reason that the company moved from, or KWRI moved from Dot Loop to DocuSign, is because we're not competing against DocuSign as a real estate company. We are competing against Zillow. So keep that in mind when you're putting that information in there. However, I get it. Dot Loop's a smoother platform. It's easier to work with and everything else. Is DocuSign getting better? Yes. Andrew would probably tell you the same thing. It's getting closer to the way Dot Loop looks. And as soon as we can get it to look exactly like Dot Loop, we're going to be in a happy world. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out as well. Andrew, I'll turn it over to you. Or not. Oh, there it is.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, just trying to pin myself on here. One moment. So like Harvard said, we are still going to keep Dot Loop for the time being. If you're currently using it, feel free to continue using it until until we otherwise say that we change it on there. One thing I did want to show you though, and Howard had mentioned that DocuSign is getting a lot better, and we're working really hard to make it a lot easier to use and make that whole process a lot smoother. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you one quick tip that you can use within DocuSign. Did not mean to do that. So we're in DocuSign here. Let's say if I wanted to combine these two documents, I can just select the two documents and we have a nice combine button. We can create a new document name for it. And it will give us a brand new document that is both of those combined. Now you can see those are both right here, and then it'll save it as a PDF. Now, on the other hand, if you want to split a document, what you can do is you can, let's say we've got this fully executed contract, or we'll say this addendum here. If we wanted to split a document into different pieces, whether it's a document that you uploaded to your computer or one of the forms that we have on here currently, you can just right click on the document and you can choose split. And you can choose which documents you want to split from here. So if we wanted to split this last page off, we could just select that last page. We could create a new document name. We'll call it last page. And we can put in the document number as number 3. And you can see it even highlights it here for us. Now, if we wanted to put 3 and 2 into a separate document, we could do 3, 2, and you'll see it selects both of those documents there. So since I said last page, we'll just do the last one. And I'm going to save. And now you can see we have a new document named last page where it just splits that document apart. So that's just a quick update on some of the easy things that you can do with DocuSign. I'm doing a class every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and I'll go over the whole process of starting the transaction, working through DocuSign. We can write an offer in DocuSign. I know I trained a team a little while ago on writing an offer in DocuSign. They were all able to get through it extremely quickly, and they actually liked it a little bit better than .loop. So it is getting better. We are working extremely hard to make it a much better experience. So feel free to join up that class. It's every Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and you can find it on ubaldinitraining.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrew. We appreciate that. And, you know, all the training is on ubaldinitraining.com. They're also on your app, that app as well. And also the market centers have it posted in the market centers as well directly. So you should be able to get to as much or a little training as you possibly want to. For the time being, we're leaving all that aspect of training all on Zoom. I get it from the standpoint that we've got more people coming in the market centers as the COVID thing starts to become more normalized. The convenience of the Zoom just works so well for anybody and everybody to get to it in all 4 of these offices. So that's a great thing. So awesome. Thank you so much, Andrew. Okay, we're going to have Patty Rodriguez from our Transaction Protection Department speak to you on just a few updates of things that she wanted to make you aware of, and I believe some messages from Tanya as well. So Patty, we'll turn it over to you.
Hey there, everybody. Just in case there's anybody new, Transaction Protection, we're the folks that are looking at your documents that you submit through command to just make sure that everything, your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. We can, if you need to contact us for any reason, any questions that you might have, great way to get a hold of anybody in your market center is through an app that Andrew will give him kudos for, called KW Ubaldini Group. And in there is the MC info, and you can find anyone that you might be looking for any help. So just wanted to throw that out there for all of you, especially those folks that are new, to understand what we do. A couple things came up yesterday in our transaction coordinator meeting. And so those are what I'm gonna hit highlights of. We are looking at a couple of things that we're seeing that's commonly being returned, things that we wanna make sure that you're aware of. Escrow is pretty important, and that's one of the main things that we highlighted yesterday. If you have a buyer, you're going to be needing to make sure that you're following up with them if you're representing them to ensure that they are making those deposits in a timely fashion according to whatever the contract says. If you're on the seller side, you still need to make sure that the title company has been received the deposits, and make sure that there's a receipt holding escrow. So those are things that are really important when it comes to escrow. There's also additional deposits that are happening in this crazy market that we're all in right now. So we want to make sure to mention that too. If for any reason the title company or closing agent changes during the transaction, you're going to need to make sure that you're updating your contracts with an amendment to show that information. So from the time that the contract is written, if you're dealing with Star Title, you're going to need to make sure if it gets transferred over to ABC Title, that there's an amendment in there. That will need to have the name of the title company, need to have their full address and their phone number. At minimum, that's a FREC rule. So those are the things we also look for in that section in your contract from lines 32 to 34. The other thing that we've seen a lot is the proof of funds. You want to make sure there's 3 things with proof of funds: buyer's name, financial institution, and also the funds available. The screenshots that are coming through, sometimes folks don't show us those names of who they belong to, and we're turning them back to you because that could be anybody's screenshot off of a phone. It's best to get a letter from the financial institution if you can, that's signed, so that if there is any questions, we have that information. You do not need to have account numbers on there. Folks, you can redact the account numbers if necessary. And lastly, if you're working with a transaction coordinator, please help them out. Make sure that they've got access to your files in an early fashion so they can get those files submitted to us, and make sure that they've got them early. And that way we can make sure that your transaction's working through the process. If there's any errors, we have an opportunity to send it back to you, and you get it resubmitted so we can get the DA. We're here to help you guys protect your customers and yourself and make sure you get paid at the closing table. That's our goal. We want to help you any way we can. And that's really everything I've got for today.
Awesome, Patty. Thank you so much. If you have any questions for Patty or Tanya, they are extremely responsive. So feel free to reach out to them and they will get you whatever you need to make sure everything is as smooth for your transactions to be. Like she said, our goal is to get you paid fast and quick and painless. We did meet with your transaction coordinators for a while yesterday to walk through a lot of this stuff too, and make sure they have everything they need to stay as efficient for you as possible too. So we're good. Thanks, Patty. Okay, I am real excited. Andrew, if you could put Dana up, and maybe put Dana and me on here, and then maybe open up the Dana. Oh my God, I'm so excited to see you. Dana Gentry, I've been working to get Dana as a part of one of our town halls for quite some time. We've been planning it for a while. Andy, you could turn the slideshow off for just a minute while I talk about Dana for a second. What I want to make sure you all understand is Dana represents everything positive that can happen for you at Keller Williams in any way, shape, or form, which is why I really wanted her to be able to talk to you. Her and her fiance, Adam, are dear, dear friends of mine. And Dana and I take a lot of leadership training. We go, in fact, we kind of get in trouble sometimes because we laugh a lot and have a good time wherever we are.
Hey, Tamara gets in trouble with us, so don't let her out of this loop.
I will. Tamara definitely gets in trouble too. Yes, she does, like in Maxwell things. But Dana is, we talk about opportunity at Keller Williams all the time, right? And we talk about what you can, who you could become at Keller Williams. And why I wanted Dana to speak to you all today is because she exemplifies that 1,000 times over, because I feel like sometimes you all hear what we talk about in our meetings and our consults and our training and our coaching regarding what and who you can become at Keller Williams. And we talk about people that have done this, yet the more people I can put before you that have in a lot of different ways, I think it's important that you're able to hear from them directly. And Dana is, she's based in the Ohio Valley region, and she and her fiance live in a combination of Kentucky and in the Carolinas. However, her leadership and her expertise spans across the country from everything she's done. So I'll let her tell you about her background, how she got to where she is, what she's doing. And Dana, we're just thrilled to have you with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. I was looking so forward to doing this. You guys are so lucky with the best leaders. And one of my own, Jessica Oakley, is in your all's region now. And I love me some Jess Oakley. So lots of great people on the call. Gary and Nikki. Gosh, I remember, I'll never forget. I brought a recruit actually down to Tampa one year to hear Linda. She didn't want to attend anything in my town because she knew too many people. So I said, perfect. Linda's teaching Fierce in Tampa. I'll put you on a plane and we'll fly down. And I'll never forget, afterwards, I met with Linda and Jim and Nikki and Gary, and they helped me and gave me some of the best advice I've ever gotten in my life, which really kind of catapulted me into a lot of other things. So, and Howard, yes, I won't tell you all the Howard stories. So we'll I'm very grateful to be here. And thank you guys for having me today. So Howard, if it's okay, can I just kind of share my story and talk opportunity map to start?
Go for it. Okay. Yep. And Andrew, pull me off, just lead Dana on and let her have her slides that she's got and everything too. So
that's perfect. Thank you guys so much. And if I talk too fast, just tell me to slow down, or if you have any questions, just ask or put them in the chat or whatever is easiest. So I became licensed in 2006. I was actually, oh, my little slide popped up. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, there we go. I became licensed in 2006. I was actually attending college at the University of Kentucky, and I was working for a property management kind of new construction builder. And people kept saying that I worked with, you should get your license, you should get your license. And I was racking up a lot of debt going to school and wasn't really sure what I was going to do. So I got my real estate license. And then that year sold like right at between 40 and 50 houses. Some of them, they were new construction. So some closed the following year, but put them under contract, and actually left school. I dropped out of college. I never went back. I've been in real estate ever since. I started with a little independent brokerage, and I always say I so appreciate the fact that Keller Williams is open books. I think a lot of times as agents, we take that for granted. Yet I started with an independent brokerage that one day after being there about a year, walked into our monthly office meeting, and they said, we can't afford to keep the doors open anymore. So as of today, you guys are all RE/MAX agents. And it was very interesting. Everybody was kind of shocked. I'd just newly been in the business. So I just went with the flow, and we moved all of our stuff and got new stuff and went to RE/MAX. And I started my business and grew it at RE/MAX. I was there for a little over 5 years before moving to Keller Williams in 2012. At RE/MAX, I was an individual agent by myself 10 years, 3 years in a row. I did 10 million every single year, 3 years in a row. I could not break through 10 million. I was completely exhausted. I'm talking 10 million, not at a higher Florida average sales price, at a Kentucky $150,000 average sales price. So it was a lot of work and a lot of transactions, and a strain on me personally. And I kept seeing all these people want to build or starting teams, and I just was very intrigued by that. So I went to my broker one day and said, Janice, help me with building a team. I want to build a team. And she said, Dana, teams are a fad. And so that was my first cue. I was like, okay, well, I might not be at the right place. And so one of my friends invited me to an event in Cincinnati to hear Linda McKissick teach 10 listings a month forever. And I had no clue who Linda was. And I thought, okay, I'll go to Cincinnati and hear and learn something that I can grow my business. I love to learn, and always went to everything that I could. At RE/MAX, we went into our basement and watched like Buffini videos from the 1980s. So I was hungry for training. So I went, and I remember I took copious notes, like wrote down every word Linda said. I was so excited about it. And then at the end, she said, this was a big room, like probably 200-300 people in the room. And she said, does anybody have any questions? Come to the microphone if you do. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to ask her a question. So I got up and went up there, and I said, Linda, can you help me? I'm not a Keller Williams agent, which, then of course, you guys know now the whole room is like, oh, they're not Keller Williams. And so I said, I've done 10 million in a row for the last 3 years. I cannot break through this ceiling. I probably didn't say that then, because I didn't even know what that meant. I probably said, I can't grow my business. And I said, what should I do? And she said, well, what's your goal this year? And I said, 11 million. And she said, and what'd you do last year? And I said, 10 million. I just want to do more than what I did last year. And she said, your goal needs to be 20 million. And I was like, oh, there's no way. Like, that's not even crossed my mind. It's just not even possible. And she said, no, you need to set, your goals are too small. You need to think bigger. Your goal needs to be 20 million because big goals will pull you through your small goals. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. And so I just had never thought about it like that before. So I was super intrigued. And long story short, I ended up leaving RE/MAX. I was like, ran what we would call culture committee at RE/MAX. I had a great relationship with my broker. I loved everybody. I was very involved. No one had made me mad or upset me or any of those things, which is even harder to make a move for those of you who've done that because you're not mad or anything. Actually got sick in the parking lot right before I told her that day because I was just so anxious and nervous about it. But long story short, I left. I went to Keller Williams and everything changed from there. So that year I poured into everything. I'm going to give you guys 5 lessons, by the way, that I learned on my leadership journey if you want to write them down. But I haven't given you one yet. I'm about to. I gave her the notice I was moving over to Keller Williams. And when I did that, I just got super engaged. Oh, did I freeze?
No, you're fine, Dana. You're good. Oh, she was. Oh no, Dana, come back.
Uh-oh.
Frozen?
Wait.
There we go. We can hear you now.
We hear you.
Am I frozen?
No, you're back.
Hold
There
on.
you go.
Okay, what about now? Can you hear me now?
You're good,
Yeah,
Dana.
you're
You're
great.
good. You're perfect.
Cute. Sorry, guys. Okay, sorry. I switched over to Wi-Fi, different Wi-Fi. What did I say last?
You got sick in the parking lot before you told the broker.
Oh, great. That's the last thing you heard. Okay, sorry. Okay. So no, I made the move to Keller Williams and I just got super engaged. I like drank out of the fire hose. I mean, they put me in bold and I went to family reunion and I went to mega camp and I went to FSO and, everything I could. I got on the ALC. And when I very first moved, I didn't even know what profit share was. I actually had no idea. But I had 12 of my really good friends at RE/MAX that over the next 6 months, they all came with me and they were cappers, which I didn't know what that meant either at the time. I just knew they were my friends and I wanted them to be where I was. So my lesson number one in the last several years of building businesses is relationships matter. Your co-broker relationships matter. Your relationships matter with your peers. How you treat others matters. How you treat your clients, the people in your past life, the people in your current life, your friends, anybody in your world, relationships matter. And you just never know when you're going to be in a position where you need those relationships to matter. And I think sometimes this business, I always say, I'll pay the KWKers. It's not really a bad word. It's kind of a bad word, but real estate has got to be the only business where we wake up in the mornings and we're at the height of heights and we get one phone call and we're in the pits of hell in like 30 seconds. And then you can get another phone call and you're back up and then you get another one. And it's just this constant roller coaster. And so it can be difficult sometimes to really focus on our relationships. Yet to me, relationships matter almost more than anything else. So, and I always remember, I loved the first time I took Quantum Leap. And it wasn't Gary that taught it, but I know Gary wrote this and he said, remember, you have glass balls and you have rubber balls. And those are the important things in your life. And there are things that are rubber balls that when you drop them, they'll bounce back. And then there are things like your family and your relationships that are glass balls that when those get dropped, they shatter. They don't bounce back like the rubber ones do. And so I always remember that when I think about relationships. So fast forward, came to Keller Williams and I was there about a year, super engaged. And our region ended up launching a second market center, a second Keller Williams office in the city that I lived in. And so I was asked to be an investor, a 5% investor in that office. So that started my first stream, if you will, of building multiple streams of income because I had always just had real estate income. It was active, right? If I didn't sell a house, I didn't make any money. And so being able to be an investor in that office was great. And we actually launched that office and we were the best launch our region has ever seen. We launched with 63 agents, which is a lot. That's really good. We got to walk across the stage at family reunion and receive our awards. But we had the best launch in the region. And my lesson number 2 is one of my favorite quotes, which is bloom where you are planted. And said another way, be so good that they can't ignore you. There were only 8 people that got asked to be investors in that office out of, I don't know, the hundreds that were around there. And I had only been with Keller Williams for a year. And I know the reason that I got asked to be an investor is because I had influence. I had brought people to Keller Williams. I was on the ALC. I was plugged in. I was engaged. And I get that question a lot from people. How do you get to be an investor in a market center? Actually, I have a meeting with a top agent in one of my market centers on Friday. And that's his question to me. And he wants to meet in person to talk about how he can be an investor. And my answer is always bloom where you're planted, show up, be engaged, attend things and have influence and help people and share your stuff and come to the office and just bloom where you're planted and be engaged. So after we launched that market center, we were open 4 months. And unfortunately, our MC, our OP and our team leader stepped down. So we were the largest launch in the region. We had extreme momentum going. We were the talk of the town. And then we didn't have an OP or a team leader. And another OP from another market center stepped in. And people kept saying, Dana, you should be the team leader. You should be the team leader. And I'm like, first of all, I have never led anybody but myself. I've never recruited anybody. I haven't had a boss in like, I don't know how many years. So I don't think that that's going to work for me, but I'll help, which is like something, if you don't ever want to intend on doing something, don't raise your hand to help. So I'll never forget, I was helping and keeping things kind of afloat in the office. And actually I am going to share my screen in just a second, if that's okay, Tamara, because I want to show just a picture. But the OP at the time, Bill Haggard, said, I want to fly you to Austin, Texas. You have the same AVA as a leader in our company who was a fantastic team leader named Wendy Harrelson, down to like the asterisks. And so I said, okay, I'll take a free trip to Austin and go to KWRI and attend the class and meet Wendy. And I did. And she was so gracious. And she spent time with me that afternoon. And it was fantastic. But I still wasn't sure if I was going to be the team leader. And so at the time, remember, because I always think about what let me back up. I always think about one of the things Linda McKissick has taught me, which is the 4 C's, which is a lot of times, if anybody in their life wants to be successful, we wait for the perfect time for something. And we think that right off of the bat, we have to already have the courage to do it. We have to have the capabilities. We have to have the confidence. And that's actually not the reality. The reality is that you need to start with the first C, which is commitment. And you need to go and make a big commitment first, because once you make the commitment, which Linda would say, it's a big commitment if it makes you want to wet your pants. But the difference between fear and courage in that situation is you go on ahead and you fulfill your commitment, even if you have wet pants. So you take that first big commitment. And I just wasn't sure at that point in time if I was ready to do that or not. And I was volunteering. You guys, this is a crazy story. I'm a person of faith. So I was volunteering at church and had been for like almost 2 years at that time. And I was the person that, it was called Connection Point. I attend what some would call a mega church. So there's thousands of people that come in and out of there. And we have a little connection point in the middle, which is where if you don't know where the bathroom is, or you don't know where to take your kid to the nursery or whatever, you come to the connection point. And so every other Sunday for about 2 years, I would go and volunteer there, and I would walk in and I would go up to the point, and there would be this file cabinet kind of type thing. And there was a basket with all these lanyards in it. And so I would grab a lanyard, put it around my neck, and then start my volunteer and, roll for the morning, and just always probably in a rush, rolling in on 2 wheels. So this Sunday in particular, I was volunteering, and I said, I have to make a decision on whether I'm going to be the team leader or not. I did not have a team that was fully running. I was having a great year. I forgot to tell you, but out of the 10 million 3 years in a row, my first year at KW, we did 18.5 million just with one admin hire and a showing specialist. So I followed the models, and it paid off tremendously. I didn't hit Linda's 20, but I got close. I got way higher than my 11 million. But that morning I was thinking, okay, God, I know I'm the type of person that needs a sign. Like I need a physical bus to drive in front of me and give me a sign. And I said, I've got to figure out, today is the day I'm either saying yes to the team leader or I'm saying no to the team leader opportunity. And I will never forget, I was there that morning and I was doing my duties, and then it was kind of quiet in there. And I just was thinking about it. I couldn't get it off my mind. And can I share my screen? Yes, I can. I couldn't get it off of my mind. And so all of a sudden I was sitting there and I was standing there, and I was just like, I've got to make a decision, Lord, tell me what to do. And I looked down, and you guys, this was the lanyard that I had put around my neck for 2 years. So I was like, all right, sounds good. Gotcha. So joke's on me, right? So you can see at the top, this is a screenshot from January 25th of 2015, which was on a Sunday. I saved that forever because I just want to always remember it. But that next Monday, January 26th, I said, I'll accept the team leader position. And so from there, really, truly everything kind of changed. So just to quickly fast forward, that year we had, oh my gosh, I stepped back. I took about a 40% cut in my income that year. About $250,000 less than what I was making the previous year total, because I had to take a step back to take a step forward, which was very scary. And it was interesting. That's an interesting feeling, very scary. To be completely transparent, one day I hated the role, one day I loved the role. I think I wanted to quit so many times. It's the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my whole entire life. It truly opened so many doors for me, so many great relationships. It's insane. So that year, let me actually have it to pull up. So that year well, in a nutshell, I grew the office from about 65 agents to 224 agents in 2.5 years. Was a black belt team leader. The first year, I didn't even know what that was. And then the second year did it again because I went to the region and said, I want to be an OP. How do I get to be an OP? And I'll never forget Myra, who was our RD at the time, and Linda McKissick said, I need you to be a black belt team leader. So I said, okay, I'll go do it. No one had ever done it in the region. And then after I did it, I went back the second year and said, okay, I did it. And they said, now we need you to do it again. And I was like, wait, that wasn't the deal. Okay. So I went and did it again for the second time. But what I really learned, my lesson number 3, is sometimes you have to go backwards to go way forwards. And it's scary. And you have to be okay with it. You have to just push through it. And you have to know that if your heart's in it and it's what you're meant to do, and it's the opportunity that's presented to you at the time, then it's going to pay off. And I love, John Maxwell told me one time 5 words. He said, write them down. You were born for this. And I really believe that. I just think whatever you're doing, whatever role you're in, whether you are a brand new agent or you are a top agent or you're in leadership or whatever that looks like, or you're a director of first impressions or any MCA, anything, you were born for that role. And you have to go and bloom where you're planted, and you have to crush it, and you have to wake up every day and give value to other people. And then opportunities will come. And I remember in that role, in 1 year, we created a great culture and we had a great team. And oh my gosh, I've never learned teamwork like that 2 years in my life. But in 1 year, the second year, we really were rolling, and we attracted and recruited a $30 million producer, a $23 million producer, a $25 million husband and wife team, and a $60 million family that came, Jess, a lot of those people that came all in 1 year. And we were on top. I mean, we just absolutely, we rolled with it. And then back to Relationships Matter, one day I got a lead from Recruiting Bridge that I was using this platform. And it was a lady named Kathy Marshall. And I didn't know her. She was a pretty good producing agent. She sold like 5 or 6 million that year. And she came through as a cold lead. And I was like, that's weird. Normally it's just new agents. So I picked up the phone and called her. And she came and met with me that week. And she said, I live in Richmond, Kentucky. It's about 30 minutes, 25 minutes outside of Lexington. And she said, but I keep seeing Keller Williams in Lexington. And she said, I want to grow my business. And so it was, sorry, I stole someone's office and there's a phone ringing and I'm not sure what to do. So it'll stop in a minute. She said, I want to grow my business. So she said, I want to join Keller Williams. And I was like, okay, that's great. It's not every day a capper calls you and wants to join, So I'm like, this is perfect. So little did I know that she was an icon in Richmond, Kentucky. I helped her grow her business. She was an amazing person. And through her, over the next year, she and I together recruited 42 agents out of Richmond, Kentucky, and we launched a market center there. And that was when I became an OP for the first time. And I went to the region and said, I think I can do it. And I just would love the opportunity. And they said yes. And so we launched a strategic market center in a very small town that people said, and my incubating market center, we still ended our agent count higher that year, and we broke 200 and ended at 206. We blew it out of the water. We're the most profitable strategic market center that's ever launched in our region. But it was interesting because people said, oh, Richmond, it's so small, it's so tiny, you'll never do anything there. And today we have 114 agents and like right at 40% market share. And that was 4 years ago. So there was a lot of things that happened during that time, a lot of turmoil and indecisiveness too. I ended up stepping down as the team leader role in that other office to go be an OP. I still remained an investor. I still to this day am an investor and help that office grow in there. But I got the opportunity.
Oh, Dana, you're muted for some reason.
Sorry, I think someone actually muted. No problem. I got the opportunity to work for the region at that point. So as we're kind of climbing up the opportunity map, if you will, and I got to be the area director starting in January of 2018. A lot of things happened then. My team was kind of getting back together and rolling at that point. But lots of changes happening. And I remember, I don't know if I should say this or not, but it's just the truth. I remember my first RD meeting, and I went in the room and John Davis was there leading it. And I looked at Myra and said, what the heck have you got me into? I'm not sure if I'm going to do this or not. And so I just can remember thinking like, man, sometimes you have to really push through your fears and just know again that you're there. We had a lot of things happen in our offices during that time. We lost a lot of leadership. We had one of our top agents leave and open an independent brokerage, and just a lot of things were happening. So my lesson number 4 is just always do the right thing. Always. It will always pay off. Always. I remember there were days I looked at Blair, my partner, and I said, why is everybody else not doing the right thing? And we're the ones that are feeling crappy. And we were like, okay, we're just going to keep doing the right thing always. And it'll always pay off. And it really speaks to a person's integrity. And you'll always see that and the outcome for that. And then with that, you just have to do the work and do it with integrity and do the right thing in your business every single day. And I know right now as real estate agents, it's a tough time, I would say. It's probably putting it lightly. I was talking to one of my top agents in Columbus yesterday, Columbus, Ohio, who has a doctor client that he's been working with, who made an offer on a $1.3 million house in downtown Columbus. He offered $173,000 over list price, and they came back and said, you're in multiple offer. So he waived the financing, said he would pay cash, waived appraisal, waived inspection. And that night the agent called my agent and said, you guys didn't get it. And she said, and my agent, he said, well, I'm assuming that we're a backup. And she said, you guys are the 4th. And so and this is a top agent. So he called me and he's so frustrated. He's like, you have got to be kidding me. He's like, I can't even call my guy and tell him, like, I'm just so, it's just nuts. So I know this is a very challenging time right now. And I would just say, you just got to keep doing the work and do the right thing and do it with integrity, because we're going to come out of this 100%. So just to kind of recap, between 2013 and today, I've been working with Keller Williams for 8.5 years. I have ownership in 5 market centers. I'm the OP of 3 offices. My team is still selling. We'll do around I have a very small team, around 700,000 GCI this year, but I'm fully out of production. So it's completely passive for me at this point. This number was pulled 2 months ago, but so it's probably roughly around the same, but I have 205 people in my downline. I've made a lifetime of around 160,000 in profit share over the last several years, just from sharing my influence and wanting to bring my friends to Keller Williams and make new friends. And quick story on that. One of my very good friends, who's a team leader in Atlanta, Georgia, his name is Terrell. Howard, I know you know Terrell. He's awesome. And he shares a great story about always thinking of making new friends and building your influence. And he says one day he was in Las Vegas at a real estate event, not with Keller Williams, with his company with another company from Atlanta. And he said he was at the pool and he was reading a book, and he was actually reading Shift. Someone had given him a copy of Shift. And he said a lady walked up to him at the pool and said, "Hey, are you in real estate?" And he said, "Yeah, I am." And she said, "Where do you live?" And they started having small talk. And she said, "Are you very far into that book?" And he said, "Somebody just gave it to me. I'm about halfway through. This is, but it's great. I've never read anything like this." And she said, "I actually know the author of that book. We're here for a conference also, and I'd love to be able to introduce you." And my husband and I have a goal of meeting 10 new people in real estate every year that we get in business with and that we meet. And she said, "I'd love to chat with you about it and have you meet the author." And so Terrell said, "Well, sure, I'd love to do that. I'm available, whatever, just let me know." And so they exchanged, and that person was Diana Kokoska. And so I love that story, because just always thinking of who can you get in business with and who can you share your influence with or talk to who's in real estate that you may want to, be able to bring over and put in your downline. I went from one income stream to, I fluctuate around 10. I know that they're up on the screen right now, which is for you guys to see. I can go into that if we need to, but my ring of 5 has completely changed my life. I mean, you guys, Linda and I just did a podcast on who you hang around matters. Who you hang around matters. And it really, really, really matters. I always heard, if you want to be a millionaire, go hang out with millionaires. If you want to be, skinny, don't hang around people that eat donuts all the time. I mean, who you hang around truly matters. And that has what really showed up in my life.
I want to interject on that because, I think sometimes in the rat race of what we're doing, especially with how challenging it is at this point in time, it's so easy to forget what you just said, right? From the standpoint, we're all, there's 100 or so agents on here with us right now, and they came to Keller Williams to be part of people like you're talking about. And I think when we get into that, I lost a listing last night, or I couldn't get a deal through, or whatever, you feel like you're on this island, and we forget that 30,000 foot view that we need to remember is why we're with this company and the opportunities it brings us. I mean, would you agree?
100%, Howard. And you just reminded me of something that I heard Gary say on the Zoom this week. And you guys have all, I'm sure, heard it before, but he said, "It's not what you get at Keller Williams, it's who you become at Keller Williams."
Right.
And I rewrote that down. I'm sure I've written it down 1,000 times before, but I wrote it down again because I thought, gosh, it's so true. You just don't understand. I mean, it's like hard because we're busy and we're doing everything that we're doing. And we get caught up in all of this stuff and the appraisal and the inspection and a crappy agent we're dealing with, and this closing gets pushed back and all those things. Yet we forget that it really is truly who we become. And if we plug in and do things, to be fully transparent, I was married and went through a divorce during all this because I had a partner that didn't grow at the rate that I was growing. And it's definitely something that I'm not proud of, yet at the same time, I was miserable, to be honest, because I was growing and learning. And it was the conversation of, are you ever going to be satisfied? Are you ever going to be satisfied? Is enough ever going to be enough? You work all the time and you want to do this. And I, for years, thought that something was kind of wrong with me, really, to be totally honest. And I told Linda that one day, and Linda said, "I'm going to tell you what Gary Keller told me." She said, "I got so sick of hearing my family members and her sister say, 'Linda, why do you keep doing this? You have enough money. You can stop. Is enough ever going to be enough?'" And so Linda said she emailed Gary one night, and she said she was just so frustrated. And she said, "Why does anybody ever say this to you? Like, why do you keep doing it? You could quit, Gary, and you don't have to do this, but you still get up every day and work." And Gary responded and said, "Linda, it's not about that. It's about becoming. And it's about waking up every day and becoming the best person that you can be. Because when you do that for yourself, you do that for everybody else. And you do that for all of those that are around you." Which actually, for those of you high C's, my 5th lesson I forgot to share with you, but it's this. It's never about you. It's always about the who. Always, always, always. It's about everybody else. And I think sometimes we get wrapped up in it being about us, but it's not. It's about your team. It's about the people around you. It's about your clients. It's about the other agents that might need a pick me up one day, or they might need you to help them. We're all new one day. And then we get to the point where somebody less new comes to us and wants to ask a question. And it's not about you. Who you determine wealth for and who determines wealth for you are really important things. And those are who's too. And I think, Howard, are you going to say something?
Well, I was just going to say, I think a lot of what you're talking about, a lot of what you've talked about over the last 40 minutes or so has to do with purposeful behavior, focused behavior. Like you use our tools, you have a GPS, you have a motivation chart that shows where you want to get to. Like agents, I guess agent partners, what I'm trying to say to you is this didn't happen, just happened to Dana. Dana made these things happen. You heard in each individual example she gave you, she was like, oh, I want to go from 10 million to 20 million, or I want to build an office from 0 to 65, or 65 to 265, or whatever it is. Like it's being purposeful. And part of that, I think, is being learning based and being learning based around the right people, like you talked about from the standpoint of putting yourself around the right people on a daily basis. So I just wanted to point that out because I think sometimes, you know, I'm of faith as well, and God has plans for all of us, and that's why we're a company that's God, family, then business. Yet we've got a part to do in that as well, right? We have to be purposeful in what we do and how we do it. Things just don't fall into our laps. We have to make those happen. So I wanted to point that out.
Howard, I totally agree, because no one else is going to decide your life but you. Well, I guess you could let other people decide your life, but that's not very fun. That's not a very fun life to live. And it's kind of like, I love what John Maxwell always says, attitude is the biggest part of it. Attitude is it. I mean, that your attitude is the one thing you can wake up every day and control. And I'm big on that, and mindset and everything, and who you hang around. And I mean, and this is probably a bad quality of mine, but if I'm around negativity, it really affects me in a major way. I can't do that. I can't be like, my environment is very important to me. And you get to a point, you know, in the beginning, it's like, we need more money than we need time. And then at one point in your career, that flip flops and you need more time. You don't have any time, but you may have enough money, but you just need more time. And when you get to that point, it's like your time of who you choose to be around and the environments that you're in and the people you're associated. I mean, all of that, gosh, we could talk for hours about that.
And I do believe your attitude is everything. And that's why we talk about, you know, it all goes back to those 6 personal perspectives, right? It always does. So do we live in a world of being accountable, or do we go to a victim behavior? Do we become victim? You pointed out multiple times, you said you went through divorce, you had different things happen in your life. My God, the McKissicks had a million times where that's happened. Like, you could easily go into a victim behavior or victim mentality, and everything could shut down on you, or you can go, you know what? This is what's happened. Now where are we going to go?
Well, I always say my motto is do everything I can to avoid getting in a rut, because it's hard as heck to get out of a rut. And that doesn't mean that you don't ever get in one, or you might not have those times. It's just when you do, you got to know, and you got to get out quick. Like, you have to, I know, what does John Maxwell call those? Nourishment centers. I learned that from John Maxwell, to have nourishment centers. And I have those, which are quotes on my phone, scripture on my phone, certain music playlists, certain people that I know I can call, certain photos that are my favorites. And when you get in that space, you have to go to one of your nourishment centers. You may need to listen to this, or read this, or look at that, or you know, call this person that you know always lifts you up out of it, because it's going to happen. You just have to realize it and then know what to do to quickly get up out of it.
Well, and I think one, I know we're running low on time here. The other thing I wanted to really highlight that you talked about is that sometimes you have to step back to step forward. And that could be in life, that could be in business, that could be in relationships, that could be in a lot of different things. And it's not easy, yet it's what, you know, it's like, I always think of it as like when you cut back a plant and then it just blossoms much bigger. It's kind of like that.
That's a good analogy. Yeah, I'm kind of doing that a little bit again right now in my life. But yeah, it is scary. But the thing is that Linda's coach asked her this question, and she asked me this question, and I love it. If is what you're doing, could you do it for the next 25 years? Mm-hmm. And that is the question I've been asking myself nonstop lately. And what is your true unique ability? What is it that you get up and do every single day that gives you so much energy that you could do it for the next 25 years?
Or it doesn't feel like a job. That's
right. Yes, that's right. That's totally, totally true. And if you're not in that space right now, that isn't a bad thing. I'm sure 90% of us wouldn't say yes to that. Yet we just have to know that, so that we know what to work towards, and how we can start to switch that around, and what can we leverage? What can we give up? What can we, figure out how to procrastinate on purpose with it? And it might not be a right now thing. It might be a later thing, so that you could really get into your operating truly just in your unique ability. Like, that's a great spot to be in.
Absolutely 100%. So what I want to point out to you guys is every single thing that Dana talked about, whether it was team leader opportunity, leadership opportunity, investor opportunity, growth, all those different things. We have a tool, we have a course, we have, profit share. She mentioned that with the 160,000 lifetime money she's made from that. We got, Nikki's teaching that actually in May. We'll show you that in the slide in just a second. There's a vehicle. So I know some of you are like frantically taking notes. I took a ton of notes myself, and I spent a lot of time with Dan. I'm blessed to. Yet don't feel like, oh my God, I didn't get everything this second, because there's someone in your world, within your market center, within Keller Williams, that will be able to redirect you back to any of the things that she discussed today. They're all that reachable. Dana, thank you 10 million times. Were you going to say something else?
Oh my gosh, it was my pleasure. Thank you guys for having me. Can I say one more thing really fast too? If you're a person that you feel like that leadership is something that you have a passion around it, raise your hand sometime, like not right now, but I mean, raise your hand, and so that people know, you know what I mean? Don't wait for somebody to come to you. Raise your hand and go seek it out. I mean, I remember I'm not kidding, when I sat in that training room, it was Kimberly Horn's training room in Tampa, and Gary and Nikki and Linda and Jim, and I said, I know I can do this. Tell me what to do. Like, what do I need to do? And I wasn't going to wait for somebody to come and pick me out of the crowd. Raise your hand. And then you might not be ready right now, but if you feel it in your heart, then raise your hand and ask, get with Howard, ask somebody. And then you can see what steps you need to do to be able to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dana. Thank you a million.
Thank you guys. I know I talk fast.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Thank you. So really quick, because I know we're going to have to let you guys run because we're beyond time. Our town hall for next month is actually going to be, it's not as exciting as Dana, yet it's something that's important and beneficial to your businesses. A lot of you have asked us about how do we have to set up LLC, S Corp, individual practice, PA. Well, we've got an accountant that's coming in, Conan Ray, that's going to be speaking to us on that. So just so you know, that's what our town hall is for next month. I know I went out of order, Andrew, sorry. There's a couple courses we wanted to let you know that are there. Gary Ubaldini, who's a masterful mastermind teacher, is teaching tomorrow at 12:30 through Zoom, all the up-to-date information regarding all of our counties. Well, I'm sorry, that's the Tampa Bay counties. I apologize, Cocoa Beach. You would learn from him, don't get me wrong, but he's going to be focusing on those county statistics. So that's tomorrow at 12:30. And also, don't forget, Gary at his prime was selling 150 to 200 listings a year. He definitely has what to bring you there, and they have an active team now. Nikki is going to be teaching on May 25th, our profit share program. A lot of you keep asking about how that works and how I can bring people into my profit share program and how I can make money from that. And that's another passive income opportunity for you all. Here it is for you. It's on May 25th at 1 o'clock. Tamara, are there any live seats open for that anymore, or is that?
Yeah, there's about 10 spots left in person at the Clearwater office.
Yep. And then it's on Zoom for anybody else, right?
Yes, and we just need anybody to register. If you're wanting to attend in person, just make sure that you reserve your spot online like today, because once we're full, we're full.
Yep. So anyway, there you have it. What a wonderful time to spend with you guys. I hope you got a lot out of it. Dana, thank you again. We appreciate each and every one of you, and have a wonderful day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye, Dana. Thank you.
Yes, Dana.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank
Thank you.
Thank you.